for those of you who didn't see by now, which I'd be surprised if you're a sports fan and haven't seen, but Antonio Brown was cut mid-game during the Buccaneers Jets. Nobody knew what had happened at the time, but he was arguing with the coaches and then kind of talking with Tom Brady and then Mike Evans. And then afterward, took his jersey off, took his pads off, took his shirt off, threw his shirt into the stands, threw his gloves into the stands, cheered on the fans, and then jogged off into the locker room. And then he was cut. That was it. That was done. He was gone. Didn't come back for the rest of the game. Then we found out, he's after the game when Bruce Arians was asked, he said he's no longer a Buck. We found out some more information. Bruce Arians said in an interview that it was an argument, and AB refusing to play for the team, refusing to go in. And then sources came out saying that they were trying to force AB to play injured, and that he refused to go in because he didn't want to further hurt himself. And they told him if he's not going to play injured, he's going to sit the rest of the game, he's going to sit the rest of the year, which would cost him about $1 million worth of incentives. But then AB cleared everything up with his statement today. It's a couple pages long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
TLDR it.
Yeah, a couple different news out. Like if you watch the Pat McAfee show, they read through the whole thing. Sure. Go for it. He basically overall explains that yes, they did tell him that they wanted him to go in injured. He had been playing on a low ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain. He had been playing on a low ankle sprain, and that he had gone to a doctor to get an X-ray, MRI of it. And during the game, it just started acting up, and he didn't think he should play anymore because he thought he would further injure it. The head coaches, it was the personnel coach and Bruce Arians. It was primarily the personnel coach told him, no, you need to get in there. This package is for you. And he said no, and he was refusing to go in, which then they told Bruce Arians. AB's refusing to go in. They had to panic, send somebody else out in his place. Bruce Arians came up to him and said, if you're not going to play for us, you can go. AB took that opportunity instead of just jogging off and saying, all right, I'm gone.
Yeah, he said that Bruce Arians said, you're done in one of these.
Yeah, you're done. He did a throat cut.
Yeah.
Well, then you're done, which is pretty disrespectful. I think there's neither side is correct. I tweeted that out. I don't think either side is at like any sort of innocent here. First, AB doesn't need to jog off like that.
Right.
People say, oh, he mentioned this in his thing too. People were talking about how if it was his injury, he wouldn't have been able to jog and jump around as he was leaving. Yes, I agree to a point, like especially if because he said his X-ray and MRI said he has bone splints, like shattered parts of his bone and tendons that are like loose. So like I would agree to a point with that. Like he probably wouldn't be, to be honest, especially it wasn't taped up. So especially if it's not taped up, he's not going to be doing that. But I also know that it's nothing to do with compared to football, which is what he mentioned. That is not anywhere similar.
Right. I mean, like you can tear an ACL and walk, but you can't do anything.
However, it's been pretty like 60-40. A lot of former players and current players say when they have an ankle sprain, especially that bad, they don't risk they don't do any sort of jumping around or anything like that. But yeah, so that all happened. He jumped off. And then I think the way Bruce Arians handled it with the whole letting him know on the sideline, well, then you're cut on the sideline here and now.
Right.
Guys play injured all the time, so I get him on thinking that AB is willing to go in, especially a veteran like him. But you signed on this guy that you've worked with in Pittsburgh, you've worked with for a couple of years now in Tampa. What type of guy he might be. He's a half a second away from snapping. You never know with AB, which is why I really hope he does eventually get help. But you never know, so you take that risk. But with guys like that, you don't respond the way he responded. Because Bruce Arians, same thing here. He was half a second from snapping, apparently.
Right.
I mean, that's aggressive.
Right.
That's aggressive. Yeah. So, I'm on neither side. I think both of them are at fault here. Similar to like Bashaud Breeland with the Vikings. Everybody heard the side of, Bashaud Breeland threw his shoes and yelled and fought with coaches, Rick Spielman, all this. And then we find out he didn't know he was benched until he was running out onto the field, and they told him, "Get back here, you're benched."
Yeah, the more information that comes out, the more you can pick a side. But I'm kind of in the neutral too. But
exactly,
if all that stuff is true, that they want to like force him through injuries, that's very messed up, especially because he could be a very big piece for you in the playoffs.
Right.
You're gonna make the playoffs and Godwin's out, so like,
if he's that close to incentives and still saying he doesn't want to play, then I mean it must be pretty serious, considering that is about one good game's worth of incentives. He's one good game away from hitting all 3 of his incentives.
Right.
So if he was willing to sit down, that means, I mean, I don't know. I think if he's willing to put $1 million down and just say nope, it's not worth the risk, that means more to me, especially because, the Bucs always talk about how they're loaded on offense. They're loaded with weapons. We have the best quarterback. They're talking about how good their offensive line is. It's just the Jets. They ended up coming back and winning anyway. Right. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the more I learn, the more I'm a little bit on AB's side. However, the way AB handled it made me not want to be on his side at all anyway. So
exactly. And everyone also just AB doing that outburst contributed it right to his mental health too. Right.
And all of a sudden Vontaze Burfict's hit on him, starts surfacing all over the place, which yes, that's when all the stuff with AB started happening. I do think that's a huge part of it. But really AB was a issue coming in, like in the draft. Part of his draft profile was teams are going to have to deal with a problem in the locker room. That's why he went so late. A big reason why he went so late is people said he's an issue. So he was a problem before. It's just, if anything, it's just worse.
Sure. We got to get more information still. But.
Agreed. There's never enough information. Sometimes you don't get all the information you want. Right now, with the amount of information we have, both sides seem at fault to me. Yeah. And for those listening, all I hope is AB gets help. AB is not going to play the rest of the year. He's getting ankle surgery from here on out. The Bucs need to move on. They claim they have all these weapons, so they should be able to move right in step. Tom can go get Julian Edelman if he wants.
Yeah.